Austin, Texas, one of the most moved to cities in the entire United States during the past few years. With big companies like Apple and Tesla moving their headquarters into Austin, and more people move to Austin every single day, you might start to wonder, is Austin, Texas a great place to invest in real estate? So in this comprehensive video, I'm going to go over the exclusive data from the Austin Board of Realtors for the past 10 years. This includes the home sale prices, the rent fluctuations, and the supply of homes in the area. And I'll talk about other things that you should consider when investing in real estate here in Austin, including insurance costs, property taxes, and the Texas landlord and tenant law. And finally, I'll go over some areas of Austin that I think has the best potentials for investment properties. So this is a very comprehensive video, and I'll take a very data-driven research approach so you can get and make the best decision about whether or not you want to invest in Austin real estate. If this is your first time here, my name is Zhang. I am a real estate agent and a homeowner here in Austin, Texas. I talk about all things real estate, what's it like to live in Austin, Texas, and real estate in general. If you're interested in content like this, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It will really help me out. Thank you so much. So now let's get to the actual data that I got, the exclusive data that I got from the Austin Board of Realtors. And we're gonna start off with the past 10 years of home prices here in Austin. For the past 10 years since 2014, Austin has experienced a huge amount of growth, starting around like homes back then is around $210,000. At the peak during the past pandemic, due to supply shortage and record low interest rate, we're looking at home prices, median home price selling around $530,000. Now, since then, home prices have stabilized and now it's sitting around $415,000. And I think this is the trend that we're gonna go heading forward into 2024, where home prices will probably stabilize and then eventually make a slow rebound when the rate cuts start coming in by the end of the year, this year, and starting early 2025 as well. So if you invested in Austin real estate, here's how the data compare. The return on investment, if you bought in January 2014, the return on investment is 100%, basically double your money. At the same time, you get, this is not even considering the rent that you're collecting, nor is it considering the tax benefit you get for owning real estate. So the compounded average growth rate for the Austin real estate market is 8%, which means that on average, the growth rate per year in Austin real estate market is 8%, 8.25% per year. Let's get rid of that. The next part we'll look at, how does that compare to the S&P 500, where you basically just put money in and do no work? Well, with the S&P during the same period of time, value or the investment increased 158%. At the same time, for the past decade, the S&P 500 gave about a 10% return, or 9.96 compound average growth rate return. So this is slightly higher than Austin real estate market, but you have to consider the rent collection. At the same time, the tax benefits of owning investment properties, which I will go over later in this video. So the next one we're gonna look at is, where is this data coming from? How is this data generated? Well, this data is generated using the Austin MLS Board of Realtor multiple listing service, and this is the map that Austin Board of Realtor uses when we consider all the aggregated data. So you can see right here, this is Pflugerville area. So you can see this is the airport and this is like central Austin right here. So this entire area is covered by the Austin Board of Realtor. So you get Round Rock, Georgetown on the north, you got Leander, Northwest, Lake Travis area. You get the Huddle area going right here. You got the Bastrop, you got the South Austin area. Overall, just a very comprehensive data set that the whole point of this section right here. So now let's go on to the next set, which is comparing the different types of homes here in Austin. And that includes single family homes, and that includes condos, and that includes townhomes. And surprisingly, not surprised, Austin area doesn't have a lot of duplexes and triplexes due to a regulation here in Austin, where it just didn't really promote those sort of construction in the Austin area, but that has changed, which I'll also go over later in this video. But now let's dive in a little bit in detail in the Austin area, how has return vary between different types of homes. So you can see single family home had a return on investment, 10-year return on investment about 94.95% with the compound average growth rate about 8.12%. When you compare that to the condo, which, condos, because of their high HOAs, hasn't really been very of a crowd favorite here in Austin. A lot of people, when they move to Austin, they want to have that larger space, and that's why they opt for single family homes instead of having condos. But depends on the demographic that's coming into Austin, where people might just enjoy a lifestyle where they live in the area, pay the HOA, don't have to maintain a yard, don't have to take care of anything, where the HOA takes care of everything for you. This trend might change in the future, but that's not something I'm gonna go over right now. But the compound average growth rate for condos for the past 10 years, 6.54%. And the next one, townhomes. Townhomes, I do want to say this townhome is very limited in numbers as well. Even though we're seeing a lot more townhome constructions in the Austin area, I personally don't know whether that's gonna pick up in demand, because the demographics that we're looking at might enjoy single family homes, they might enjoy condos, but we might see a hybrid or combination of demand. Just giving you a heads up, but the return on investment on that one is 109% and 8.3% compound average growth rate. But I do want to showcase or highlight that the number of available data right here for single family homes, 331,000, which is over the past 10 years, which is a much more meaningful data when compared to the condo, which is only 32,000, and even more meaningful when compared to townhomes, which is 4,546. So use that as part of your considerations when you're investing in Austin. Depends on the type of investment home that you want to look at. So now let's go to the next section, which is the rent. I know it's important to consider home value appreciation as your investment strategy, but at the same time, you have to understand how the rent situation has been for the Austin market, because that is part of the reasons you want to invest in real estate. Is both the the rent collection, the home value appreciation, and the property taxes deductions, right? And the tax benefit of holding real estate, not the property tax deduction. That does have its benefits. At the same time, you have the mortgage leverage, right? But here is the past 10 years of rent in the Austin area. 2014 started around $1,500 in rent and slowly climbed, and then it's really accelerated during the pandemic to around $2,300, $2,250 during that period of work from home trend, where during the pandemic anyone can work from anywhere. So a lot of people from California decided to move to Austin, explore the city for 1 year, and that's why rent really spiked up during that time period. And at the same time, home prices did as well. But right now, let's take a look at how the trend for the past few years, where rent has really stabilized, and you might actually see a little downward trend right here in 2024. And I think that is expected because we have a lot more supplies coming onto the market, which I will go over later in this video, because supplies coming onto the market is your competitions onto market in both rent competition, in both home prices acceleration competition or appreciation competition. So if you have higher demand, but at the same time supply increases, the prices remain the same. So be sure to stick around to the later portion of the video where I'll go over the future supplies of homes in this area. And so the rent growth, you can see the number right here. Basically, it's averaging about 4 years, compounding 4 years, 4% per year, excuse me. And I also did another calculation. I used the median rent and the median home prices here, and came up with the calculations that basically for the rent you're collecting, you're making 6.25% per year. All right. Compared to the SP 500, in 2014 SP 500, the dividend yield is 1.92%, and in 2024 it's still 1.4%. There's not really much growth right there. So that's something to keep in mind. So the rent price right here, I basically use just to show you where the number came from. I think I used like 2250 And I use that to divide by median home prices, which is around $425,000. $425,000 right here. So now let's move on to the next part of the video, which is rent predictions. As I mentioned before, I don't know where rent will be. I don't have the crystal ball, but it's not unreasonable to think that we might see a stabilization of rent until the supplies stop coming onto the market. That means that the new construction homes stop being built in the Austin area. At the same time, we'll have a continued increase in populations moving to Austin area. That increases the demand for homes in the area, right? Which in the video, in the next portion of the video, I'll also go over the population growth in the area and the home supply growth in the Austin area. So now let's go on to the next section. And this is the supplies of homes. So people, when they want to move to Austin, when they try to make an investment thesis of Austin, is that they see Austin as the Silicon Valley of the Texas area. They call it the Silicon Hill, right? But personally, if you expect the home prices to appreciate like they did in San Francisco, in Austin, like they did in San Francisco, in the Austin area, I think you might be a little bit disappointed because the policy that different governments take, the two governments take, is very different. And you can see that in the data reflected. So in San Francisco, I can show you the number of new homes that's authorized for construction every single year, right? This is the data you can see right here. In 2023, has 1,700 homes, new homes being built in that area. You know, during that 2022 era, it really experienced a lot of appreciation in San Francisco, in California Bay Area, home price appreciation due to a huge influx of technology companies investing in the area, buying campuses, therefore paying high salary to tech workers and who wants to work near quarters, therefore they can afford to overpay a little bit on the home prices there. At the same time, limited by a low supply of new homes in the area, and that's what really cost $1 million homes, multiple $1 million homes in the San Francisco area, which I don't know if we'll see that here in Austin, Texas, but because right here you can see this is the number of new constructions granted in all the top metropolitan areas. In Texas itself, you can see Dallas led the way with 77,000 homes, new homes constructed in 2022 alone. That's like, that's basically more than the entire past 10 years in the San Francisco area. But this is Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington. We can take a look at Houston, which is the next big one right here. But compared to those two major metropolitan areas, Austin, Texas, where it has a lot, in my opinion, a lot smaller in terms of its suburb and metropolitan area, you still saw a $43,000 home, 43,000 new construction homes were built in this area. While housing units, this includes single-family homes and condos. And in 2023, due to a higher interest rate, where construction loan costs increased tremendously, we actually saw only 38,600 new construction permits were granted during 2023. And I think 2024 will be a probably even lower year because interest rate remain high, especially for construction loan. And I don't know if you hear on the news, the Federal Reserve predicts that there will be a huge number of delinquency in multifamily real estate, and those banks who fund those multifamily real estate also fund new construction loans, and therefore if they go under, it might become more difficult to lend out money and slow down the growth in new construction supplies, which I'll also go over in the later part of this video. By the way, if you enjoyed the video, you enjoy content like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you. This is a lot of research going into it. I do content like this to add value every single day. So be sure to subscribe if you want to learn more about Austin real estate market. Now let's go on to the next part, which is the current status of Austin market, Austin real estate. So in Austin, it has around 1.1 1.04 million number of housing units in the Austin area, Austin metropolitan area. And most of the homes are occupied, which is great. You want to see that, right? And meaning that either homeowners are living there or they just rent it out to someone else. At the same time, you can see right here, this is a very interesting statistic. About 60% is owner occupied and about 40% is rented out to renters. At the same time, as I mentioned before, remember when I said there's not a lot of multifamily or duplexes or triplexes in the area because of the policy. You can see that reflected in the data right here. And I think this multi-unit that they labeled, let's go back right here. The multi-unit that they label right here, this is probably the condo and things like that. You can see some increase in mobile homes, which I don't really talk about yet in this video, but I might talk about in the future. And you can see a lot more people moving into the Austin, Texas area for the past 10 years or so. And a lot of people say, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know if our infrastructure is supporting that right now. We can see a lot of constructions going on everywhere in Austin. That's indication of a lot of growth. But now let's take a look at the actual population growth. This is data by the Federal Reserve, St. Louis Federal Reserve branch. And it showed that in 2022, we had about 2.42 million people in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown metropolitan area. And now let's go on to the next part is the growth rate of Austin metropolitan Austin area is about 2.06%. So in conservative, we'll just predict that it will be a 2% population growth in the Austin area for the next few years. But you can see the next calculation I want to do is the Austin housing unit growth. This is 3.85%. I got this number by using this number right here, number of new construction permitted divided by the number of existing homes to get that. We're expected to get 3.85% per year in the number of new supplies coming onto the market. This number might decrease if we have high interest rate, right? Because as I mentioned before, I think we might have a huge issue with the commercial real estate market and the banks that lend to commercial real estate market, who also lend to new construction, to lend to builders. They might tighten up financing and become more difficult to get financing, which I'll go over a little bit later. So from here, I did a simple calculation. If we keep this rate to be the same, where 2% population growth, 3.8% housing unit growth, we still have, and on average, there's about 2 people per household, per home. So there's still a 200,000 unit short or gap in the housing units here in Austin. But by 2030, which is just a few years away, then we'll have an oversupply of homes. As I mentioned before, this is using very high housing unit growth rate of 3.85%. That might be impacted by the high interest rate crisis. It might be impacted by the funding available. It might demand available as home prices appreciate, land value appreciate. It might become more difficult to build homes. So this number will probably decrease. That's what I expect, but I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. The next part is the population growth. Can we maintain 2% population growth? I think we can. I'm being pretty conservative here as well, especially with the number of new businesses opening up in the area, like Tesla growing, Google growing, Apple growing. You don't just think about those companies hiring, you can think about the company that work for Apple, like the consulting companies and the supply chain companies that want to do business with Apple. They might move their headquarters and build their businesses here too, and therefore bring even more people into the area. So you got to think about, once those companies come, what are other companies that will be attracted because of those companies being in here? You know, Samsung's already building their factories here. Anyway, so now let's go on to exactly what I was talking about, the regional bank sell-off because of the commercial real estate loan, especially by the New York Community Bank. This one is something I'm watching on news today. I don't know what's gonna happen to NYCB. It might have some huge issue coming up. It might survive this collapse or downgrade or write-off of loan losses and from commercial real estate. And if it doesn't survive, and then the regulations come in where it becomes harder to lend out money to new construction, to builders, to commercial real estate, then that will really limit supply of homes everywhere. And we today still are suffering. This is exactly what happened in 2008, where it had a huge spike of housing inventories because everyone's seeing home prices going up. So builders, they rushed in and they invested a lot into their businesses. And we had a lot of housing inventories in 08, but guess what happened when the bubble burst? A lot of builders went out of business and they just don't want to come back in. And that's why for the past decade and a half or so, we've been seeing a decrease of home and housing supplies, housing inventories, because builders were out of business. They don't want to come back to a business that just made them lose everything. They lost their shirts. So we have a decreasing amount of housing inventories. Inventory is basically at historic low right here, even though it's been trying to pick up recently. So we don't know. So in conclusion, I think there's a growing demand in the Austin area for homes and housing supplies due to big companies moving here and due to its popularity, gaining popularity among a younger generation. And we just gone through a boom cycle. We're now at the down cycle, the bust cycle portion of it. But this is the best time to look into investing in real estate because money is made on the buy, right? Real estate money is made on the buy. Will you see a 2008 type collapse where home prices fall like this and then rebound like that? I doubt it. I don't think so. But if that's what you're banking on, good luck. I don't know if we'll see it. We do have a growing supply of homes in the area. As I mentioned before, Texas is very easy to build, meaning that we don't have a lot of tight regulations like we did in San Francisco, like we do in San Francisco. But this represents an opportunity where a lot more people can get into a home, right? At the same time, if you can rent it out at a cash flow position, you will basically just wait for appreciation to come in sometime down the road. All right, the next portion, which is when you're investing in real estate, there are other things I need to consider as your cost of investment, especially if you saw the news in Florida where home insurances in some area tripled, quadrupled over the year, over the span of 1 year due to like high claims and due to just numbers of natural disasters from hurricane and flooding and just made Florida basically uninsurable, and a large insurance company pulled out in that area. So insurance is a huge part. So here is a quick overview of the insurance portion of Texas real estate. Texas does have the most tornadoes of any state, right, on record. But at the same time, the same year has a record number of wildfires in the area. But personally, I have not experienced that in Austin, or I think it happened maybe once in my memory. I do think in Austin, you do have more in my area, in Pflugerville, you had to consider a lot more hail damage to the roof. And that's why part of the reason the insurance premium went up last year. But compared to rest of the Texas area, Austin, for a $250,000 dwelling, coverage costs about $1,400, $1,443, while in Dallas it's $2,200, and in Houston it's $2,000. So if you're thinking about investing in real estate, because Austin's is a little closer into the center portion of Texas, is considered more inland compared to North Austin and the Houston area, where it's closer to the Gulf. This one is part of the reason why insurance in Austin is a lot cheaper compared to the rest of Texas. And the next part, something I do not feel happy talking about, because taxes. It is true. Taxes in Texas is the highest in property taxes. That's because in Texas, we do not collect income taxes. So there is that trade-off right there. You can see if you live in California, where it does have maybe like lower property taxes, less than 1%, I believe. But at the same time, you're charging 10% on your personal income tax. So anything you make from your rental property is 10% taken away. So that is something to think about. But in Texas alone, we do have high property taxes. I think if you are I think the tax rate we're sitting at is probably around 1.6% in Austin area for a homestead, probably like 1.4 to 1.5% actually. So this is for homestead exemption, meaning that if you live in the home as your primary residence, you actually get some tax deductions or some benefits in your property taxes, lowering your property taxes. But if you're doing investment property, that tax rate is probably looking around 2% in some area, like 2.3% or 2.5% in areas like Georgetown, which is kind of expensive, right? But now let's look on to the next portion. But to consider, right, other areas, other states with lower property taxes collect higher income taxes. And property taxes can be written off in the federal income tax returns. So that is something to consider as well. The Texas tenant law, landlord-tenant law, Texas in general is a landlord favorite state. So meaning that if you go through the eviction process, the court most likely will rule in the landlord's favorite. A typical eviction timeline is about 1 to 3 months. I do want to highlight that I am not an attorney. I am not a lawyer. So just take this as information, general information purposes, and do not use this as your sole research, right? Do your own research, basically. Here's an example on Reddit that told a story about eviction timeline. What happened in the story is that the landlord had to evict a tenant who didn't pay rent for, I think, a few months. So they submitted a request on September 15th because the rent was late, and because the tenant did not pay rent. So then they got a court hearing date on October 15th, and they won the court case. So that in 1 month, in theory, it could start eviction process, which I think could be done within 3 days after you gone through the court process. But in this case, the tenant wanted to appeal, and then so they submitted an appeal request, and then they dragged out another 1.5 months, and then the landlord won again, and was able to basically file a small claim against the tenant. And by the way, if you want this entire research report, you can get it in the description box down below. I'll link it right there so you can go over it yourself, and you can click on the link and see all the things that I cited, so you can have a better understanding about this entire research as well. So now let's move on to the next portion of, I do want to come back here and talk about, compared to states like California, where the court will probably rule in favor of the tenant because they don't really want to have a situation where they're putting people on the street. That's just how the court works, the policies that each government adapted, right? And I think compared to California, Texas is probably a lot more landlord friendly, and the court has moved in a way that's faster in processing time. So you can see typical eviction time 1 to 3 months, where I hear horror stories about eviction timeline being about 8 months, a year or so in the pandemic, sometimes even drag out longer than that in California area. All right, next go on to the final section of this video, which is what areas do I think could be worth looking into as investment areas. So now the first one I want to talk about is the Hutto area. Hutto is, I'll probably show a picture right here where Hutto is in the northeast corner of Austin, Texas. I'll show it right here. Hutto, so you can see this is Austin area, this is central Austin, and Hutto is in this area. So it's like northeast Austin area, about 40-minute drive to downtown Austin. This is an area that's fast growing. We have a Samsung factory being built in the area. Samsung right here, Samsung. So I think this is a great investment area, and I'll show you the numbers right now as well. So we can take a look together at whether that's an area that you want to invest in. In the Hutto area for the past 10 years, we saw a return on investment 122% in the homes that you bought in the area. And you have a compound average growth rate of 10.15%. that to me seems really good investment. That's very comparable to the S&P 500. But then you can see the number of homes, only 8,000 homes being built in the area. That's because it just didn't have demand. You just didn't really have demand back then. But now I think that's gonna change in the future, especially with the new Samsung factory being built. We might see a lot more people who want to move to the Austin area, might want to live in this suburban area. And you can see a lot more home prices appreciation as well. I see a lot more investors investing in Hutto. I personally am looking for a property there as well. So that's something to think about. The next part, you can see the rent in the Hutto area. You can see in Hutto, it's just back in 2014, not a lot of people lived in Hutto. That's why you see this gap right here between the data points, because just wasn't a lot of demand. But recently it really picked up, since like the pandemic. You can see Samsung moving here. The rent's been collecting is around $22.50. So that's pretty decent, and especially for home prices, which is around $380,000 right now. $370,000, $380,000. And you might find some really good deals who need some work. You might get it from around below 300, and then you can rent it out for about 2,000, right? So that's a really good cash on cash return investment right there. But you do want to know that there are a lot more new constructions being your competitions in the Hutto area. So if you're investing in an older home, you want to consider that as well. All right, next part is Pflugerville. Pflugerville is where I currently live. As I showed you before, Pflugerville is in the northeast Austin, but just southwest of Hutto area. I personally like it because it gives me proximity to downtown, about 20-25 minutes. At the same time, a lot of central Austin or North Austin amenities I can get access to within like 10-15 minutes. So this is the Pflugerville area. This is like Austin, downtown Austin. So I can like go here 15 minutes drive, 15-20 minute drive. I can go downtown 25-30 minute drive. So it gives me enough access. At the same time, it has great, Pflugerville ISD has great school district. It's not as good as Leander, Georgetown, which I'll go over later. But I think Pflugerville is an area that I personally enjoy living in because like the convenience of downtown at the affordable home prices. I can see this area growing a lot more in the next few years for sure. Obviously, personal opinion, not personal financial advice. Do keep that in mind. So here's the data. Pflugerville, Texas, past 10 years, return on investment, 128%. And the average compound average growth rate, 11.09%, so it's a lot higher than what we saw in Hutto. And the rent prices have been very, very stable, hovering around 2,300 to 2,200. We do see a lot more new construction homes in the area. Those will become competitions for the area, but if you want to find some good deals, this is a great place to be, a great place to look for. And the final part I think is a great area of investment is Georgetown. Georgetown is one of the fastest, I think it's the fastest growing suburb in the entire United States in 2023, maybe in 2022 as well. Leander is being number 3. Leander is west of Georgetown. But Georgetown is a fantastic area. Quick overview right now. The return on investment, 141%. Wow. When you're the fastest growing suburb, there's a reason you are. There's a reason you go, right? Your ROI is 141% for the past 10 years. Compound average growth rate 10%. The rent is very stable. You can see throughout the entire Austin area is about 2,100 to 2,400 in rent, but homes rent prices is slowly ticking up a little bit right here for the past few months. I think this might stabilize as well. The rent prices will stabilize, home prices might stabilize, but Georgetown and Leander has fantastic public school districts. That's why a lot of people, tech workers who want bigger homes, bigger lots, want to have more of a front yard, more of a backyard, they move to Georgetown, they move to Leander. At the same time, they are considerate of their children's education. So the public school district systems right there is fantastic. I think it's ranked number 1, number 2, or whatever it is. By the way, if you're interested in knowing the best school districts in Austin, Texas, you can check out one of the videos that I made here on the channel. I'll probably link it right here on top. And at the same time, this is a quick overview of the homes, of whether you should invest in Austin real estate. And as I mentioned before, I am a real estate agent here in Austin, Texas. If you found this video helpful and you want to get in touch with me so I can help you find an investment property here in Austin, be sure to reach out to me using the number right here. Is also in the description box down below. You can also email me, text me, get in touch with me. Feel free to use the calendar link to schedule a meeting with me. And by the way, if you're wondering what is the best suburb to live in Austin, Texas, you can definitely check out one of my most viewed videos right here. And if you wonder why do we care about the best place to live in Austin? Well, if you are an investor, wouldn't you want to buy a home in places that people want to live in? Just food for thought. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate you, and see you next time.